Good afternoon, San Diego. Almost good evening. I'm Jesse. I'm a San Diego City firefighter, and today is day 6 of San Diego City Firefighters' 19 days of donations for COVID-19. Today, we are recognizing Community Christian Service Agency. Just a quick review for those of you who may be joining us for the first time. Our firefighters proudly serve each day in all of the San Diego communities, and we began to see the impacts of COVID-19 crisis firsthand. Not just the illness itself, but also the financial burden that it's placing on tens of thousands of our San Diegans. Firefighters are often recognized for our work on the front lines during emergencies. And although we're still here doing that same work during the COVID-19 crisis, we want to do more to help in 2 ways. First, we want to highlight some of the other organizations who are out there also doing equally great work on the front lines to support San Diegans. And second, our firefighters are chipping in out of their own paychecks and making financial donations to support these great nonprofits that we're going to be highlighting. We recognize that many are out of work right now. Many are struggling to put food on the table. That's not okay with us. And so we're really compelled to do what we can to help. Each day for 19 days, San Diego City Firefighters are donating $3,000 to a different nonprofit who is helping San Diego through this crisis. And we will highlight each organization so that other San Diegans will have some options if they either need help or would like to help out in some way. The firefighters wanted to make sure we spread our donations as far across the city as possible. And so we worked with San Diego's mayor and all 9 San Diego City council members to identify specific needs across the city. So with that, I'd like to introduce our guest today. First, the vice president from Community Christian Service Agency, James Acosta. James, thank you so much for joining us today and for the work that you guys are doing over there.
Jesse, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. It is our honor. And next, from San Diego City Council District 6, I am honored to introduce Council Member Chris Cate. Welcome, Council Member.
Thank you, Jesse. Thanks so much for having me, and thanks for what you're doing.
Absolutely. It really is our pleasure, and we're just so fortunate to be working with CCSA and also to have your support, Council Member. Thank you for working with us on this project. If I could, thank you both for being here. If I could, I'd like to jump right into some questions to start highlighting Community Christian Service Agency. So if we could go over to James, I'll start with you, sir.
Thanks.
So I could obviously talk a lot about what I saw over there, but I think you'll probably do a better job as the vice president at explaining kind of the mission and the work that your team does.
Well, nothing beats firsthand observation, but I'll do my best. Our primary mission is to feed people that are either they're economically disadvantaged in some way. That would be either low-income people who may be forced to make some tough decisions between paying bills or buying food, and then outright people that are in the homeless population. Both are very important to the community. We do consider it a community service because it helps protect the community as well. One of the ways that we're looking at it, we really believe the mutual benefit to the individual or the family being served and the community is that when we're helping the low-income people, we may actually be helping to prevent homelessness because they may literally be dollars away from losing their lease, and it allows them to use money in other places. We also, as a secondary mission, in addition to feeding folks, is we direct people to other resources that may be of use to them. In the case of those who are economically low income, we direct them to other services for which they may be qualified and do not know how to access. We help navigate them through the system. They may just not know how to access that particular help that applies to them. In the case of homeless, there's a whole different set of challenges. And we have 2 centers. We focus on the low-income people primarily through Claremont. Through Pacific Beach, we're really focused on the homeless community out there. One of the things that we do for them, it's things that you might not even think of just in your day-to-day life, but they may not have an ID. They may not have, some of them need medical screening, and we do have nurses that come on site and actually do a medical screening and help them get medical referrals. A lot of these things, though, too, some of these we found are actually entitled to benefits that they did not know that they were entitled to. Some of them were veterans that just needed to be navigated through the system. So we actually offer that. We can help people get birth certificates. We can help them get valid California state IDs, and therefore they can get registered onto other services. So we have that whole secondary layer of support services. We also do have a small clothing redistribution center. We get many donations. We launder on site. We make sure that all the clothes are clean. We screen them to make sure they're still usable. And we have those in actually our clothing room, and we're able to take people through there. So a lot of the food, we're teamed with various large partners here in San Diego. The San Diego Food Bank and Feeding San Diego are very supportive of us. We actually are part of the EFSB, the Emergency Food and Shelter, or P program. So we can actually distribute emergency food through the government as well. So we maintain a very robust operation, believe it or not, with very few volunteers. You probably saw firsthand, or actually I should say very few staff. We saw firsthand Connie. She is our operations manager and the key to a lot of this. We have Javier at PB who works under her that makes sure that the PB center runs. And we have a couple of lifters there for staff. We bring in a tremendous amount of food. You know, another big component here where the community is really helping us to help these people in the community are people like Sprouts, like Target, like Big Lots, who let us have their rescue food, and we take that and distribute that within a day or two, so that stuff that's near expiring or we're very close to expiration, we can get out. And so we can get fresh produce out, we can get sandwiches, and any types of groceries that they're looking to put out. And in addition to that, at the Rappahannock Center, we for families, we actually can put out bags of groceries. These are canned foods and pastas, chili, soups, rice, beans, cereal. So there's a whole variety, and we have a system for bringing them in and giving them this assistance. And it's organizations like yours and many of our volunteer churches and members that really help us to do this. So we really appreciate your support on that. I will say the CCSA is comprised of a coalition of approximately 18 churches, and although Christian is obviously up in the front of the title, we welcome help from anyone, and we do get a lot of help from anyone. We work in a very ecumenical and community sense. So we're proud to be part of this community, and we really think that we are providing actually a service that, believe it or not, helps protect the community, and a lot of that is by the fact that we hope that we're helping to slow homelessness from occurring here in San Diego within some of the vulnerable low-income people. I'll be honest with you, we have no real tangible metric to throw at you for that, so I don't want to make any crazy claims. But we are, and in the case of the homeless population, trying to direct them to other resources where they might be able to find a way out of that situation, and keeping them just even healthy and helping them. You know, we have a laundry service also at Pacific Beach. We take them down to the Joyful laundromat there on Garnett, and once a week, and we have people sign up, and we have them come through in rotations. They're able to do their laundry and stay clean. But staying healthy, especially now in this environment, is important, and really we view that not just as a service to them, but as to the community, so that we're not putting all the rest of us at risk as well.
Wow, terrific.
So I could go on and on, but I won't say. I won't torture you with that. That's probably pretty good broad stroke overview of what runs out of there. I will tell you that our volunteers are very dedicated. As you probably noticed, they have many of them have stayed in place to keep the services running. Obviously, we practice it within CDC guidelines, but it would not run without our staff. We run on a fairly low budget, and we're very, very efficient in how we use the funds. So we're just glad to be a strong presence here in San Diego. Sometimes a presence, I think, that is one of the best kept secrets, if you will.
Absolutely. And you guys are doing terrific work. It was interesting that you highlighted so many other businesses, because that's exactly the message we're trying to communicate here. The only way we get through this is working together. And I just love to hear that so many other businesses and individuals are out there in the communities collaborating. You highlighted a tremendous amount of work, and what was not lost on me is you guys have been doing this work for 40 plus years, and 48 years. That is phenomenal. What has changed as a result of COVID-19? Have your operations or needs been increased or impacted?
Well, certainly our ability to serve our clients at the normal level of service that we would has been impacted. We need to do things within CDC guidelines. So most of our services now are on basically providing food to people that could not get it. Our COVID also has really affected us in terms of we've seen a much higher volume of need, and there are a lot of people coming to us that could not get the food they needed in other places. So we have focused primarily on food. We have reduced our other services because we can't bring people in for counseling and really do the medical screening. But once again, one of the things that we are trying to serve the rest of the community with here is, especially in the homeless population, is in our big general plan, we want to plug into the 10-year plan that the city has to end homelessness. And we want to find our role in that to help make that happen. We're glad to see those resources being applied in such a useful manner. We do believe there's a little bit of a gap, because you can't just immediately put everybody into a home, and we've got to take care of some immediate needs. And that right now is where our focus is. And taking care of some of those immediate needs, which is really food, and we're still helping with the laundry for some of the homeless, is mainly trying to keep them healthy so that if we can get them to a shelter, they arrive there healthy and not sick, and just to keep them from getting sick in general. So there is just useful for everyone right now, I think.
Wow. Well, I love the vision, and I love what you guys are doing. If we could, let's go over to Councilmember Kate for a minute here. There are so many nonprofit organizations out there doing good work. When I called CCSA to let them know that you helped us identify 2 organizations who could benefit by the firefighter donations, I spoke with their operations manager, Connie Villarreal, a wonderful lady. Connie said something that moved me. She said, of course, she's very humbled, but she said, I remember Councilmember Kate stopping by, and I gave him a tour a while ago. I'm just so surprised and appreciative that he would think of us for something like this. Councilmember, would you share with us why you recommended CCSA in particular, and how does this particular organization stand out in your communities?
Yeah, well, that opportunity to take that tour was very memorable for me, and we were introduced to CCSA not long after we got into office. And one of the things that we wanted to try to address in any way we could as a council office was food insecurity. And we have Feeding San Diego, we have the San Diego Food Bank, both are headquartered in our council district. And these are large organizations that get a lot of resources and support from various organizations for their mission. And their mission is one that we need in San Diego, but there are also a lot of smaller organizations that are right within our communities, right in our neighborhoods, like CCSA, that are doing tremendous work. they're on the front lines. They're the ones that are meeting with individuals and clients every single day to address their needs. And as James mentioned, try to address some of the food insecurity issues and homelessness issues that we're seeing in San Diego. So that was what was left with me after I toured the facility, was that these are the folks that are right entrenched in our neighborhoods, who are developing relationships with San Diegans and those that are in Claremont, and providing a need that is very much a need of being supported by all San Diegans to make sure that they're accomplishing their mission.
That is just so cool. We're seeing the choices and the recommendations that all of council and the mayor have made, and you're absolutely right. They go from the very small organization out there to the really large. And I just love this one. I love that they're a pillar in the community, and to see their operation firsthand. I mean, they're swinging well above their weight class. They're absolutely competing with the bigger organizations. Maybe just aren't as visible, don't get the financial support that they could. So I love it. CCSA likely had no idea as to how the COVID-19 pandemic would impact them, but they've clearly adapted quickly to serve the greater need under very challenging conditions. They have a reduced volunteer staff. They're increasing their productivity to keep up with the need. That's just great that they can do that. Councilmember, what other impacts are you seeing in your communities, and how has the general response been from other organizations or even individuals out there?
Yeah, it's something that I think if you look at different organizations and different sectors of our economy, they're going to impact folks in different ways. One of the things that we first noticed is that the council district that I represent is predominantly Asia Pacific Islander. We have a huge API influence within our council district. A lot of restaurants and residents and business owners who are of API descent. And so when the pandemic first started, we were seeing a lot of issues within our API community, whether that's instances of xenophobia or racism, people not patronizing businesses, things of that sort. And that was one of the aspects that we were experiencing. Obviously, you see a lot of smaller businesses that are going by and having to shut their doors and figuring out how they're going to survive. And so our advocacy efforts and partnering with Mayor Faulkner and trying to provide the business relief program that the city implemented, and trying to at least help in that regard for a lot of the small businesses that we have within our city and our council district specifically, to hopefully provide some security for them to get through this and be able to open their doors on the other side. So I will say the impacts have been very broad in terms of their scope and their nature and what's happening every single day on the ground. And it's an opportunity for us as San Diegans to really come together and work with all different organizations and try to figure out what path and what role we can play to try to address whatever issues do arise. Because I will say that there's, whether it's governments or nonprofits, we're not going to be able to do it on our own. We're going to have these partnerships that exist to help alleviate some of the hurting that's going on in our communities.
I love it. I love that. Again, we just hear everybody reiterating that message of having to work together and coming up with new solutions. I feel for you, because there is no playbook for something like this, right?
Exactly.
It's interesting to see how resilient the communities are in overcoming this, and I'm definitely proud of that effort, as I'm sure you are as well.
Absolutely.
I have one last question for you, if I could just get a little bit of a personal perspective. Many of us know you as a city leader. We obviously know that you have to continue working despite the challenges of the pandemic. But what sometimes might be overlooked is that you're also a regular person. You're not a machine. You're just like us. You live in the communities that you serve. You have a young family at home that you have to look out for. What changes have you had to make as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic? And do you have any words of wisdom for other San Diegans out there?
Well, my perspective is probably somewhat different than others in that my wife and I had our son on March 11th. literally the day the world stopped, and we were under a stay-at-home order on that day. And so it's been interesting the past 4 weeks to have a newborn at home and deal with all of this. We have family that's local, and while we would be getting help from, our grandparents and family members, they haven't had an opportunity to meet our son because of what's happening. So it's been very interesting to have a newborn and a 19-month-old daughter and going through all this. So that's been a little bit different, but it's the one thing that I have noticed just around our neighborhood and near Mesa where I live is that you see a lot more folks that are outside taking walks. I think trying to enjoy, absent the rain, enjoy the sunshine, and get outdoors and just kind of expand the horizons. Just in our community, we've seen a lot. I think more people trying to come together and look after each other. We have a really cool thing going on in our neighborhood where people walking around, putting a teddy bear in your window to show that you're supporting each other, you're there for them. So things like that, little takeaways like that is really good. I think the one thing I would tidbit or piece of advice I would give is to get out and meet your neighbors. I think the hustle and bustle of everyday life requires us to be more introverts and get home, take care of your family, and not really look after your neighbor or get to know your neighbor all that well, not know who they are. And I think this has given us the opportunity to just kind of check in and send that text message, send an email, make that phone call to that one person, or even a family member who maybe you're not as close to as you want to be, and just say, hey, is there anything I can do? Is there anything you need? How can I help? How are you doing? I think simple things like that go a long way and really just allowed me to just make some phone calls and text messages and just say, hey, just checking in to see how you're doing. What can I do? Is there anything that you need? And I think that's the one thing that I would try to leave and hopefully maintains once we're done with all of this.
Awesome message. I couldn't agree more. I just have to highlight that we want to be, social distancing compliant.
Of course, yeah. All that in the background.
Absolutely. If I don't remind people of that, the fire chief will be the first phone call I get after this presentation. Well, awesome. And thank you for that. Those positive words. That's a great message. Yeah. If we could, let's circle back to James. If San Diegans need to access services from CCSA, or if they want to help either through volunteer work or through financial contributions, how can they do that?
So if you want to access help through CCSA, we are open from 8 to 3:30 to 4 o'clock on Monday through Friday. We also, our telephone number, and I'm sorry, I don't have that right at hand. I should have that memorized.
It's all right.
But our information is on our website, which is ccsasandiego.org. And there are 2 addresses to both of our facilities with phone numbers. And you can also send an email to our manager there as well, which is Connie. She'll end up getting a hold of that. And certainly you can, if you want to help or volunteer, please feel free to give us a call. We'll work you in. I will admit, we're always looking for volunteers. Right now, the process may seem a little bit slower simply because we have fewer people and we have to stay on the front lines getting food out the door and get people screened and indoctrinated. And certainly I would tell you that you hit the nail on the head. Nobody planned for COVID-19. And certainly if you want to send donations, you can do that through our website. You can mail a check to our Rappahannock address. I guess I'll put in one last plug in that way. Because of our relationship with the food bank and with Feeding San Diego, we can, right now, they have reduced the price per pound of their food from 19 cents a pound down to around 10 cents a pound. So with donations, especially generous donations such as you've made, we can buy an awful lot of food. And we really appreciate all the support the community has shown us, and we really want to do our best to show our support to the community and city as well. So thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And we'll be sure to put a link to your website and contact information on our website and social media so folks can click over. Before we close, I just have to give a shout out to your operations manager, Rial, and her hardworking team of 4, if you could believe it, only 4 at the Claremont location. I could not have been more impressed by their heart and work ethic. Thank you for all the work that you're doing on the front lines of this pandemic. Any closing comments from you, James?
No, I'll just say thank you for, we want to really thank the firefighters of San Diego here for supporting us, for giving us this opportunity to share a little bit about ourselves. And thanks for that shout out to Connie, because I will tell you, she's a wonderful lady and our volunteers are just super people. Thank you.
Absolutely. It is our pleasure. Councilmember Kate, any final thoughts from you, sir?
No, just to thank you to you, Jesse, and all the firefighters for going above and beyond for us, not only serving us every single day, but now, taking money out of your own pockets to support nonprofits and organizations that are right on par with you in terms of trying to help get all San Diegans through this. It's really to be commended. And just thank you for doing all of this.
Thank you, sir. I'll steal your message and James's message. We're all in this together, and the only way we're going to get through it is if we stick together. So thank you once again to CCSA Vice President James Acosta and Councilmember District 6 Chris Kate for working with us on this project, working together as a community to support one another. We will get through this. And last, I want to thank all of the firefighters, the hundreds of San Diego City firefighters who continue to donate money to make this really cool project possible. So with that, this concludes today's presentation. We hope you'll continue on this journey with us tomorrow for day 7 of 19, when we get to take a look at another really cool nonprofit supporting San Diego out there. So good night, everyone.
Thanks, Jesse.
I'm Jesse, and I'm a San Diego City firefighter.
I'm Mark, and I'm a San Diego City firefighter.
I'm Tony. I'm a San Diego City firefighter.
I am Jerry, and I am a San Diego City firefighter.
I'm Jason, and I'm a San Diego City firefighter.
Firefighters live and work in the communities. We go into people's homes and see the financial impacts of COVID-19 on a daily basis. Like so many others, we are compelled to do more to help our community through this difficult time.
Firefighters know how tough it can be to serve on the front lines during an emergency. So we're committed to donate $57,000 to local community organizations that are also on the front lines helping San Diegans through this COVID-19 pandemic.
We worked in collaboration with San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulkner, Council President Georgette Gomez, and council members Barbara Bree, Jen Campbell, Chris Ward, Monica Montgomery, Mark Kersey, Chris Kate, Scott Sherman, and Vivian Moreno to identify 19 amazing nonprofits who are doing tremendous work throughout our city.
Starting tomorrow, Friday, April 10th, and continuing for the next 19 days, we'll be donating $3,000 per day to a different organization. Additionally, we'll highlight the mission and work of each organization through short presentations, which will be live streamed through our website at www.sandiegocityfirefighters.org and on Facebook at San Diego City Firefighters.
Since 1973, San Diego City firefighters have donated money out of their biweekly paychecks to support local nonprofits. These donations have grown to exceed $100,000 annually. While we remain committed to supporting longtime community partners like Muscular Dystrophy Association, San Diego Burn Institute, United Cerebral Palsy San Diego, and many others, our firefighters wish to expand our efforts to help San Diegans impacted by the pandemic.
No matter what time of the day,
No matter what day of the week,
We're here to serve our communities.
So stay united, San Diego.
And we'll get through this crisis together.